some vocabulary. So we're going to record this one. Hopefully I can get it all in. I didn't quite get it all in the last period. So that recording, right? I just as soon get this one right. So let's give it a shot. All right, so let's take a look at two terms, right, that we're going to use throughout this today. We have the word electorate. Now, who can tell me what electorate is? Let's just make some guesses. Take a stab at it. Go ahead. What is it? Nailed it. Okay. In the other classes, it's like I had to actually pause the recording in one class. You know, it was hilarious because, yeah, it's the people that actually vote. You got that? It's the voting population. So let me ask you, what's the difference between electorate and constituency? That's the other word for today. What's constituency? Yeah, take it.
Well, constituency is the people you represent, and electorate is the people who are voting. The voting population is never the same.
Can always count on this class to get it right, and I love it. Now here's the deal. Let's take Governor Cox, for example. His constituency is who? All of us. But his electorate is a plurality of the Republican Party. We say, well, wait a minute, didn't all these 70% of Republicans vote for Cox in the end? Yes, because it's a Republican state. But his constituency is narrower than that. There's two constituencies. One, the general election constituency, which votes in November, but the one that matters is which one? The primaries. In the primaries, I don't think he got 40% of the vote. The vote was badly split between three major candidates, a couple of minor ones. In the primaries, where the Republicans picked their candidate, Cox narrowly beat out a very strong Trump candidate, supporting candidate, another one that was kind of in the middle, and he was just kind of he left that alone. He just kind of stayed away from it. And he managed to get an electorate that put him in. Nobody expected him to win. He's young. Huntsman, who had been governor before, he'd been ambassador to China and ambassador to Russia. The guy comes from the Huntsman family fortune, the Huntsman Center, and he beat Huntsman in the primaries because about 80,000 votes that would have gone to Huntsman in the primaries went to another candidate. So he gets to become governor, and he'll be governor as long as he wants to be, because nobody in the Republican Party now will challenge him because, you know, he's now got name recognition and name ID. He didn't have any name ID when he started, right? But there was a debate between him and these three candidates, and that debate made all the difference in the world. He came out as this, look, I'm just worried about things in Utah and let you guys talk about national politics all you want, but I'm going to focus on Utah. And people liked it. They're sitting there saying, hey, you know, a little breather from the national politics scene. And Huntsman looked a little bit like entitled, like, I deserve this job. I was governor before, I've been ambassador, I've got all these connections. You know, he was appointed by both Obama and Trump. Huntsman became the ambassador to China under Obama as a Republican governor. And Trump made him ambassador to Russia. So I'm just saying, but he got beat because he tried to make it too much about, you know, national politics. And Utahns wanted some, you know, just to worry, let's just worry about ourselves for a bit here, right? It was interesting. It was a fascinating election. It was really, really an interesting one. But the electorate then was not that big that got him in. Now he's guaranteed to win all the time. So people that showed up and voted that May, oh, I'm going to vote for either Spencer or Cox, it was already decided. By the time 90% of the elections in this country are decided in the primaries. The candidates are picked in the primaries and it's over before November. And yet American independence, I love independence. I'm independent. You go there and you vote for two predetermined candidates that are picked by political parties. You had no input on who's going to win. Don't be an independent. Well, be an independent if you want, but go participate in the primary process of one of the two major parties to try to narrow down the candidates to people you actually think can do the job. And if you don't get involved in the primary process, I'm sorry, people, you're just not part of the electorate that matters in Utah, because a Republican will win nearly every race. And there's a few races where Democrats can win up in Salt Lake and so on, but basically that's our politics. Now, also, our politics is also driven by media. And we always use this left and right thing, right? So you got politics on the left, politics on the right. One of my favorite quotes, Rush Limbaugh, whose spin will become the truth. Whose spin on a story will become what we'll believe in history or what the voters will believe, right? Whose spin will people believe? I love this one. When did opinion become fact? Well, the truth is that a lot of people think their opinions are fact. And we have a media that supports that. Let's kind of take a look at this. This is traditional media. Let's go through it really quick. You have left media, MSNBC. You have to the right, Fox News. You have even a further right that just got started in the last couple of years that is going further than Fox. They want to take some of Fox's money. The thing all of these have in common is they're all businesses trying to make money. Now, you don't need a big audience to make a lot of money. MSNBC struggled along with 1 million or so viewers a night for like 10 years, but then all of a sudden now they're as big as Fox News, who was the biggest. I'm talking about the cable news networks, right? But none of the cable news networks make as much money as these people here in the center. In the center, in the kind of mainstream media, we call it, NBC, ABC, CBS, these are the ones that kind of try to appeal to everybody, right? They're in the business of getting a big audience, and they'll get 5 to 8 million a night. You'll get maybe 3 to 5 here, 3 to 4 here. But then you have all these others: New York Times, Washington Post. It's the newspaper media, magazines. You come over here at Wall Street Journal, you see that there's quite a spread. This is for who? Marissa? Yeah. Marissa immediately follow our great leader here. And then you have a small French element there, but they only need 1 million viewers, 1 million listeners. Rush Limbaugh on radio had up to 20 million listeners a week. And he was a multi-millionaire, probably made $100 million a year. All of those have this in common. They're all businesses in the business of making money, and they don't have to appeal to anybody but their specific audience. But here's the advantage of this. You can choose which one you listen to, and you know their bias going in. You know that it's going to be plain Jane vanilla, show a little bit of both sides, don't get too deep in the controversy here. I use NBC because it's in the middle. A lot of people don't think so. A lot of people think, oh, it's far left, it's far right. Yeah, it's in the middle. And you can kind of tell too, because they always do this. They try to do the hard-hitting pieces, but they always do, like, storms always come up first. You know, hurricanes, everybody can agree on. Hurricanes are bad, right? And then they'll do a little fluff piece on politics, and then they'll always end with a heartwarming story. It's a formula that keeps older people mainly coming back again and again and again. Whereas a lot of people here, it's a lot of yelling and screaming. And so a lot of people are turned off by that. But what they all have in common, they're all businesses. And also too, you decide which one fits you. You don't have that advantage because there's a dark cloud now on the horizon. The social media giants, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, Snap, whatever your thing is. Most of these are fads and won't be around 10 years from now, but nevertheless, it's a new shadow on the walls of our lives. And what makes it fundamentally different than, say, the old television, radio, newspaper media? What makes this so different? I always start this lecture out, and I forgot this time. You live, listen carefully, in historic times. You just don't know it. I know it because I've lived a long time and I've seen historic times before. And often we don't know how big the history is while we're living it. And you live in historic times, and one of the elements, the new elements of change in our world is this. And by the way, the term Facebook is now so toxic. Guess who changed their name yesterday? Facebook changed their name to what? Meta. Yeah, what? I heard that. Meta. They're trying to attach themselves to Marvel Comics. Metaverse. Really? Is that going to work? It's working already because people don't say Facebook anymore, which has become so toxic in this country. They're saying Meta, 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 Meta. And nobody knows what they're talking about now. They had to change their name, make a new parent company. Now, Facebook is still popular in other countries, but here in this country, it's become toxic. I bet if we said, actually, how many still use Facebook? You say only reluctantly when I absolutely have to, right? But Instagram and others, it doesn't matter though. They're all the same. They're insidious. Tell me why they're insidious. Why are they different? See, this is easy to understand. It's right to left. You can pick your position. But this is different. So take it and we'll come around and we'll just kind of keep pointing. Go ahead.
Well, in stuff like the one of the bottom, you kind of just have to listen to what they're saying. You don't really have input in what they're saying, but in like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you can write your opinions under their posts and say what you want.
Very good. Excellent start. Take an EQ essay off. Next.
It incentivizes people to get angry at each other. Because the whole point of it isn't just to have people listen, it's to have people pay all of their attention to it.
Okay, so what is their prime motivation?
Money.
And for those of you at home, I'm writing dollar signs up here. What's the purpose of this? Money. And when ratings were down, say for Rush Limbaugh's show, he'd say something really provocative, right? Then MSNBC would respond to it. And they get in a back and forth exchange, anger, upset, outrage, and both their ratings would go up. It's all about ratings. You make money based on ratings. So if you don't have a controversy, you create one. But the difference is online is what?
It gets pushed to you.
It gets pushed to you. What else? What else is insidious? We're here and here. Go.
It's not guided by experts or anyone who's informed about issues. It's guided by random people on the internet.
Here, you at least have pundits who you kind of learn to trust or not trust, right? It has a personal
And
face.
It's also individuals who have specific biases. This is just some random dude named Joe who lives in South Carolina.
Who may not even be what? Random dude Joe lives in South Carolina. May not even be what? Real. How many of you ever replied to the comment section? Some comment and you reply. How many have done that? Raise your hands. Oh, come on. Come on. How many have done it? Right? About a 50-50 chance that the person you're responding to is a computer. You're responding to a computer that's trying to get you angry, so you'll respond, so you'll stay connected to the site longer, so that you'll participate in their advertising monetization model. Take it.
The social media, basically, they have all the information on you.
Oh, listen carefully. Listen carefully. Go for it.
Social media has all of your information from all the sites you've been on, and then they collaborate it and push something that will provoke your thoughts.
Provoke your thoughts and whatever. So whatever you're doing right now on this little device right here, whatever you're doing, all that is being recorded, and they're creating a profile on you that they can then use to push advertising, push ideas, to push whatever. If you spend all your time on certain games, guess what ads you're going to see? The next game, the next game, the next game. They know your age pretty close. They know where you live geographically. They will know you by race. Do you think these cameras aren't recording your image? You're recording it yourself. You're posting it on where? And are there certain products that sell to certain ethnic groups more than others? Of course. Think about your ethnic group. What products are popular with your group that aren't maybe popular to another ethnic group? Right? We all know there's differences. Foods, just start with that. Could be cosmetics. Look at these guys doing, I love this, keep going. You can listen and do this at the same time. But I just think that's great. My point is this. Last period, they talked about Amazon now has this technology so refined that it's taking a picture of your entire house and you're asking robots to clean this and that and whatever. And it has the exact lay of your house, knows every product you have and don't have.
It knows what you're going to buy next week.
So every time you're online looking at that screen, you're feeding information to them. And guess what? You're then being exposed to certain puppets on the wall that a computer's decided that you'll respond to. You know how effective it is? The Russian government put about 5,000 people on the 2016 election to push social media anger and hate on the internet for American elections to mess with our elections in 2016. And they didn't care how it turned out. All they wanted was Americans to hate each other. We indicted 29 Russians for messing with our elections, which is a felony, but of course, can we arrest them? No, because they're doing it all from Russia. The GRU is the CIA of Russia, and they were the ones doing it. It's an arm of their national security apparatus. And they don't just mess with our election, they mess with any democratic election in the world that they want to, Mexico, Germany, and so on. But they can do it now because of social what? And they'll shut it down in their country. In China, can you use social media to trash the government?
No.
They will shut it down. Here we have freedom of speech. So they're using our strength against us. Freedom of speech is a strength, and yet they're using it against us. You had your hand up for a long time, your hand's up a long time, go for it.
So the intent of both of these groups is to make money, but the intent with social media, how they actually make money is by selling your attention to advertisers. And by giving you more relevant ads and trying to get you to spend as much time as you can so that they're more likely to get people to buy things from them so they can sell more reliable advertising spaces.
Boy, you're so right on that. You're 100% taking EQSA off as well. Can I build on that one before we come back to you?
Yeah.
So when I went to Google, I learned this. Every Google customer, look what they give you. Free search. Free search. Look what they give you. Google Docs. You don't have to pay for that, right? You have to pay for that. Some businesses have to buy it, the corporate version that has security around it. But students, everybody uses it for free. All these other things, all the tools I'm using in class, the website and all that's just free, except it's not. If a user will click on one ad per year, they've paid for whatever services you are thinking are free. Now, here's how it works. Companies bid for the top spots. Now, there was a day at time, and I'm going to draw this a little bit on the board for you guys in class. You guys at home can't see it, but just imagine with me as we go along. Okay, so when all of it was on the computer, right, you had this kind of a computer screen aspect ratio. Their first searches, it was all what we call the generic search. In other words, they literally have an algorithm that's going out and looking for the most common, most supported site on any topic. Does that mean it's the best site? No, but it means that's where more people are going to than any other. That's why Wikipedia became such a big problem for Google, because it continued to show up at the top in this generic search. At some point, they're thinking we should buy Wikipedia because guess what? All the searches are going there. But a lot of searches. But the point is, this was called the generic search. But you can't make money on that. So they created a panel off to the side. This was one of the great innovations of Larry Page. Off to the side, you have ads that are called relevant. Relevant to anything you put in your Gmail, relative to anything you've ever clicked on, relative to anything that you search. And they take all that data and information, and like you right now, whatever you're doing is being collected by Google on an Android phone, which is what you have. And that right there is deciding what the searches are going to be. I can't tell you, I bought a telescope. I can't tell you how many sites I've been taken to about astronomy, right? I buy a wetsuit, which is so obscure. Nobody buys wetsuits for swimming. Hardly any of us, a few of us, triathletes. But that's all I get now. They got me pegged, man. He's a triathlete that loves astronomy. Let's sell, sell, sell. I click on one ad. The top ads today could go for $200 to $300 a click. A company is paying for that. If it's the right kind of ad, by the way, the profile is important. So if it's the right profile, a rich person who has a lot of money, who's maybe looking at a Cadillac Escalade to buy that's electric, if that person that's making $300,000 or more comes up, they're going to see that ad. You're not going to see it because you don't have that kind of money. You're going to see ads for things that you can afford. Anyway, this ad is so valuable, it's worth $200 or more. The next one, maybe they can only afford 150 or 100, and down it goes. One click pays for all your services. All they got to do is get you there. Now, here it gets even more insidious than this. All right, geography. where you live will determine some of the things you're going to be interested in, they assume. Where you go to school, whether you graduated from high school or not. All of this starts to create a profile, but at least the ads were on the side. And then what happened? Somebody got smart and said, wait a minute, we're not making enough money on this. Let's put the top 2 ads at the top and get 10 ads on the screen. Okay, so now the generic search, the stuff you actually went there for, has been pushed down, and you're more like, you got to see this and this. So the click rate on these top ones became much higher. And then this one, this one, this one. They would give you pages of searches, but how many people ever go to the second page? How many ever go to the 3rd page, the 10th page, the 100th page? So then what happens is this, okay? Now, hold up your phone for me, because right now they're collecting data on you. Hold the phone up on you. What changed was this form factor. What game's that? We're not. Love it. This is what happens. Watch this. Watch this important change. I was there when Android was bought. We all knew where it was going. Computers were not the future, phones were. They jumped all over that because they wanted to be the alternative to Apple OS. Here's what happened next. The form factor changed. The form factor went to this. So now when you do a search, guess what? There's only room for ads. They make hundreds of billions of dollars a day worldwide on advertising. 15 years ago when I was there, the domestic US market was $350 billion then. Do you know what it is today? And all you have to do is click once. The motto of Google used to be, do no evil. Now,
They removed that from the
it's
website.
make more money. And by the way, Google drives most of Facebook ads, or at least did at the beginning, and now Facebook's got their own thing, but it's all about making money, guys. And most of what's going on there is decided by computers, not by people. And your politics is now being decided by computers, not people. The articles you see about candidates is being driven by computers, not people. And oh, by the way, you will be funneled into a narrow little slot, wherever your little slot is, and you won't see alternative views. You won't be presented with something different because there's no profit in that. Last 2 comments, go for it.
Alright, so the main difference that I think between social media and the news is that the news has to be very general. Because
That's
social
true.
media does have all your info, they can really cater to you specifically
Yeah,
and your like special interests and beliefs that may not be common with among other people. So the news has to be way more general in that sense.
no, you're right. And then you have to jump topics a lot quickly or you lose certain people's interest, right? So that's why they have, the big news story of the night is 2 minutes and 50 seconds long. Whereas you look, ads, good example. Let me back to what you're saying. Ads used to be run a minute ad and then shorten it to 30 seconds and 15 seconds because it fits the time slots and people's attention span. With social media, you can run 3 to 5 minute ads. If you like that candidate, you can get a whole speech in. You can't do that on the old media. So the new media in some ways has a few advantages, right? Love that. Great. Take an essay off. Go ahead.
I mean, there's a classic quote. It's if you don't know what the product, if you don't know what the product is, then you are the product.
Whoa, I love that one. You already have an EQ essay off, right?
Like
You get one. You only get one per activity guide, but that was brilliant. Did everybody hear that one? You guys realize you are the product, right? That your information is being sold to advertisers. Your profile, they send your profile, and it depends on the product. The only ads that a certain group of people will see will be these high-end ads because they're wealthy. If you're a student, you're going to see a whole different series of ads.
Our schools are like almost every school in the country requires Google services to some extent. So we're just turning all our kids into products.
Can I tell you, I was there. I was there when we came out with Google Apps. The spreadsheet and the word processing program and all of that. And nobody thought we could take Microsoft down. But Microsoft is hardly even used now in schools. And every single school is now contributing to the database of information on every single student. what you said was profoundly important.
You have no choice.
Love that team, by the way. They were so energetic. And it was so much fun and they innovated so much and great engineers on that team. Meanwhile, let's get back to the electoral politics now. Knowing that this last election with in 16, by the way, Obama used social media a little bit. He had a programmer from Washington that was able to organize using it before Facebook, use a social media site that they created to organize rallies around the country. Okay, so that was considered a big innovation. Now you just go on to Facebook, whatever, you can organize anything, right? It's amazing how far it's come. So Trump was the first one really to figure it out. And also Twitter was new and he became the master of Twitter and whatever. Now you can campaign cheaper with social media too than you can on the old style media. But let's look at how this campaign went. This is a great site. It's called realclearpolitics.com. I really want you to remember that for the next election. Real Clear Politics keeps track of the polls and how they go through time. Notice when Trump announced, and for those at home, I'm drawing this on the board, but when he announced, he got in late, didn't he? All these other candidates had got in before him, except Walker. He and Walker got in at the same time. Now, he had some name of identification, but was anybody taking him seriously at first? No, but he kept calling in to Fox News, where old people go for their news in the morning. He kept having, the things started to show up on Facebook, and then he started to use his Twitter feed. And then there was the first debate. He got attention. Second debate. Then he comes up with, who's the front runner? Who's the guy in green? Bush. Bush had this. When he entered, he was the front runner. He dipped a little bit here, but then he comes back up and he's got the nomination. People, he's heading for the nomination. When the term low energy Bush started to be used. And then through a series of debates, Bush just crashed. So by the time we get to Iowa, he's sixth. It was one of the most masterful takedowns of a front runner that anybody has ever seen. And he did it with, oh, you're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency, Donald. Who said that? Bush. And then anybody that got close to him after that, he created a slur for a name. Lion Ted Cruz, Crooked Hillary Clinton, Little Marco. On and on it went. And it was very effective. Now, at this stage, though, this is when it goes from, okay, campaigning, like we can, within a range. It wasn't like completely objectionable here. I mean, it was different, but, people can deal with it. But I got to be honest with you, Jeb Bush could have handled that whole thing better. He could have had more fun with it. He had all the money in the world. He could have hired some people. Hey, give me the one-liners I need. What nickname we're going to use for Trump that's going to work? He didn't handle it very well. He looked awkward. Then it gets ugly. Somebody, and I don't know to this day who, but it wasn't, listen carefully, it wasn't the Ted Cruz campaign, did an atrocious article about Melania Trump. It was bad. Ad. It was a negative ad. It was wrong. Look, she was a famous model, right? Worldwide famous, made a lot of money. She was the real deal model. Somebody decided to slur her. It was wrong. Trump, of course, quite naturally, is going to react to that. And he really went, but he took it out on Cruz. And this is when it goes from bad to really bad, because then he personally attacks the looks of Ted Cruz's wife, Heidi. That starts to cross a line with a lot of people. And then he comes up with this term for Cruz, who now was the second person getting the most votes, right? He was number 2, Trump number 1, Cruz number 2. And they got into a back and forth exchange like I've never heard before. Now, Ted Cruz is going to use the word narcissist, right? And raise your hand if you know what that means, right? I'm surprised because, yeah. Okay, narcissist is a person who has excessive interest in or admiration of themselves. And you're in college, so maybe that makes more sense. But you got to understand that most Americans don't know what that word means, right? So I was just hoping that, making sure, because he's going to use that word. He's also going to use another word, amoral. Now, does amoral mean the same as immoral? No. But I bet you most people when they hear amoral think immoral, right? What's the other one he used? Pathological, right? Sounds good. Most people don't really know what that means, right? You guys actually know what pathological means, right? Can you drill down on what it means? Okay, you pretty much have to be a psychology major to really get that right? But then, out of the blue, a friend of Trump's who runs a magazine called the National Enquirer, which isn't much of a force today, but it used to be on the newsstands of every single supermarket in the country. So as you're leaving the supermarket, scanning your food, oh, that's a funny, weird, crazy article, and you grab it. There's lots of UFO stuff and, things about the Queen of England and all that stuff. But this one showed up on just at the critical moment of the election. Ted Cruz's father was linked to the JFK assassination. Ted Cruz's father was in on the killing of JFK. That's what the article said. True or false? Completely 100% outrageously false. Yet people were starting to think, really? His father was in Canada at the time. Give me a break. The whole thing, though, was timed perfectly. And then they get into this back and forth. Now let's listen to the exchange. Here we go.
If I could say, remember Lion, I won't say Lion Ted, I refuse to say it. Lion Ted holds that Bible high, puts it down, and then he laughs.
Donald is a bully. The man is utterly amoral.
I think he's crazy. Honestly, I think he's crazy.
This man is a pathological liar, a narcissist at a level I don't think this country's ever seen.
He is choking like a dog because he's losing so badly. We have to put him away tomorrow.
But you mess with my wife, you mess with my kids, that'll do it every time. Donald, you're a sniveling coward, and leave Heidi the hell alone.
Who won the exchange? Who won the exchange? Analyze it from a political lens. Who's getting more votes? And why? Why did Trump win this exchange? As ugly as it got, and it was truly ugly. Go ahead, take it. Keep going. Says it loud and proud.
And I like he was saying things at rallies where it's like he was saying
A group of reporters. Nobody's ever caught that before. That's new. You get an EQSA off too. What else is Trump doing that's tremendously effective for a new type of electorate that he is now encouraging to come out and vote for him? Take it, go.
She's like, he's making Ted Cruz seem emotional. And it's the same thing he was trying to do with Obama and his whole victory lap he did after he got Obama to release his birth certificate. He's trying to appear above Ted Cruz.
Was he able to provoke a response from Cruz?
Yeah, it was an emotional response.
And have you guys ever played like basketball and the first person that does the foul doesn't get caught, the second one does? Right? Somebody fouls somebody and then somebody fouls in retaliation and the ref blows the foul on the person that retaliates. What else is Trump doing that is literally among this electorate? Poor Cruz didn't have a chance. Go ahead.
Frankly, Trump is the one on the offense here.
And
So he's the one making accusations. He's the one instigating this. The best Cruz can do is defend, and the best defense isn't going to win you anything. At best, Cruz could get a draw in this scenario.
yes, that's a good point. Ted Cruz did his father kill JFK. Did he do that ad that he's responding to? No. You go down the list. The only time Cruz actually looked strong was when he's responding to the attack on his wife. But you're missing another point.
Supporting with the nominee. If I could say,
Trump is using small words and he's repeating them often. He said lying 5 times in less than 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Notice the sleight of hand, the backhand with the Bible. Ted Cruz won Iowa with the support of evangelical Christian voters, a religious base. And he's basically accusing Cruz of hypocrisy here. Then Cruz responds using big college level Harvard, I was educated at Harvard words, that most of the electorate that was going to vote in that election in the primaries didn't even know what he was saying. It was shooting over their head, pathological, amoral, narcissist. You can't use big words. The average reading level of the average American is 8th grade. Do you know that? I do a lot of writing. I run 65 textbooks. I sit there, I write for copy for software companies, whatever. And we got to take a technical product with a lot of technical words and we got to dummy it down so average everyday people can actually understand the instructions. We literally try to get down to an 8th grade reading level. And every new term we introduce, we have to clearly explain in simple terms. Listen to Trump's strategy. It is epic. Here we go.
If I could say, remember Lion, I won't say Lion Ted, I refuse to say it. Lion Ted holds that Bible high, puts it down, and then he laughs.
Donald is a bully. The man is utterly amoral. I think he's crazy. Honestly, I think he's crazy. This man is a pathological liar, a narcissist at a level I don't think this country's ever seen.
He is choking like a dog because he's losing so badly. We have to put him away tomorrow.
But you mess with my wife, you mess with my kids, that'll do it every time. Donald, you're a sniveling coward, and leave Heidi the hell alone.
So will you support him as the nominee?
I'm gonna beat him.
Who said he's sneaking to a small audience of reporters? Was anybody able to challenge Trump's assertions? No, big crowd. He's giving a speech. He's in control of the room. Cruz makes his best statement, and immediately a reporter asks him a question that throws him off his message, and he loses again. Let's look at that. His strongest moment, leave Heidi alone, which is everybody can agree with, but then that disappears in seconds. Watch this. Let me go back a bit further.
Be fully coward and leave Heidi the hell alone.
So will you support him as the nominee?
I'm gonna beat him for the nominee.
That's not
He
answering
is
the
not,
question.
I am answering the question. Donald Trump will not be the nominee.
He's leading right now. You
Donald
open that
Trump will
camera
not
and
be
say
the
that he's a
nominee.
coward. Will you support him as the nominee?
Donald Trump will not be the nominee.
By the way, when Donald Trump became the nominee, did Cruz support him? After all that, yes, he did. He immediately got put on the defensive. He didn't even get a chance to enjoy his one small moment. Here's what's happening though. Let's get back to this primary. So you go through the first 4 states. Can you name them for me? Iowa, which Cruz won. New Hampshire, Trump's winning, but only by 35%. South Carolina, again, it's not a majority, but Trump's got more delegates coming out of that. Nevada too. And then there's a magical week. Everybody listen carefully, called Super Tuesday, where a bunch of states all go together at the same time. And the Republicans had their Super Tuesday organized this way. A lot of southern states and a couple of others smattering around the country. Now, after that night, Trump comes out with the lead in delegates. All right. But look, Marco Rubio wins Minnesota. Okay. His home state's in Florida, but he wins in Minnesota. But that was not enough. And he drops out shortly thereafter. Trump wins in Vermont, Massachusetts, Virginia, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Arkansas, and Cruz wins in Texas, very big state, that's his home state, Oklahoma, and Alaska. So now it's a 2-person race. But you're sitting there saying to yourself, wait a minute, if you're going to win the general election in November, all these states matter, so Cruz, right? Why would Trump even bother to go to Vermont and Massachusetts to campaign? Because what electorate does he need out of those states who are going to vote for Hillary Clinton and who are going to vote for Biden? It's already decided Vermont is Bernie Sanders country. Vermont is not going to vote for Trump. Massachusetts is not going to vote for Trump. Minnesota won't either. Virginia won't either. But why is he going to those states anyway? To get the primary Republicans delegates to his convention. Obama came to Utah. Was Obama ever going to win Utah? No, but he came here, campaigned anyway for the delegates, and he beat Hillary Clinton. He got like 2 more delegates than Hillary Clinton did here. The primary electorate really matters, people. And Trump now is in the lead, and Cruz is now the only real contender left on the board, to be honest. And the rallies got bigger and bigger. Then he starts to roll up 50% margins from here on in. And had this really cool hat that is now iconic. The MAGA hat. Make America Great Again. It became, MAGA is a thing. At MAGA, they spray painted on walls. MAGA is a thing, right? And look at the pageantry of this. This campaign was done on a shoestring. It was done with very little money. Jeb Bush had more money. He spent more money than Trump did. But these events were made for TV, made for this moment to take a picture. Look at that guy. How could you not vote for this guy? Look at the support, right? And so this transforms American politics. What you've seen is the creation of a new electorate by Donald J. Trump. Now, you know, yesterday, I was not very happy with the Trump presidency. I just didn't think they got enough done to move the country forward. No major legislation to speak of, other than that tax cut, which went all, you know, all different. Didn't work. It actually was a negative for the Trump campaign. But he reshaped the electorate. Now let's go through this. You ready? Follow along with me. There's only been 12 times in American history where the electorate, the voting, how people vote changes. Mostly you start out as a Democrat or a Republican and you vote that way forever. If you're an independent, you stay that way, right? We don't change our voting patterns much, to be honest with you. They kind of stay pretty static as you go through life. But there are moments of inflection, moments of apex, where the electorate radically changes, where it redefines itself. So what we're saying is redefining the electorate. The first time it happened was done by Alexander Hamilton. And he used George Washington as his candidate, right? What was Hamilton's name of his political party that he created? Federalist Party. Last class, nobody knew that. How many times did I said it? You have to know that. Federalist Party. His positions were the positions of business and industry and the big city urban area. That was not the majority view in the country. So he created a political party, which would be very liberal by those standards of the day. But you only had the rich and powerful that could vote. So he was able to organize this political party and dominate the politics and the laws that were passed for 12 years and 2 presidencies, Washington and Adams, 12 years. Now, organizing in opposition to that, a much more conservative party of rural interests, slave owners in the South, rural farmers, whatever, was Jefferson and Madison. They objected to everything Hamilton wanted to do. They would ultimately be successful in stealing the presidency away from Hamilton's picks in the election of 1800, an ugly election, by the way. A lot of name calling back and forth, a lot of bad stuff, like we saw with Ted Cruz. They did that kind of stuff back then. But here's the thing, right? This becomes a more conservative rural party, which is where the country was at the time. I mean, he played to his base brilliantly by buying Louisiana and expanding all that agriculture. The thing is here is that we see the bipolarization start. Now, Jefferson, the reason he had trouble getting elected sooner was simply this. A lot of his voters couldn't vote. A lot of his supporters didn't have enough money to vote. States determine who is eligible to vote. And then you needed to show a certain amount of wealth in certain states. It was higher and lower in some others. And anyways, but that he overcame that. And their party dominated politics for the next 28 years. He redefined the electorate, Jefferson did, and 28 years his party ruled. And his party was an elite party. Every single president of the Jefferson-Madison era spoke multiple languages. They even all read Latin. They were the most educated group of leaders in American history. They were the elite. Rich planters, all but one owned 100+ slaves. Now, this party, though, would snub Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson ran for president age 24, barely literate, war hero, and the party basically took advantage of the Electoral College and kept Jackson out in 1824. Jackson then says, okay, I'll start my own party with Martin Van Buren. They start the Modern Democratic Party. The word demos matters. It's the People's Party. They went around state by state by state, and a lot of states agreed that this didn't go well, this last election of 1824. So they gave all white men the right to vote, regardless of property ownership, wealth, or education level. Now, before we all overreact and say, oh, well, wait a minute, what about women? What about African-American men? What about this? What about that? The truth is, though, this was the largest extension of the vote, which we call the franchise, another key word I want you to know, anywhere in the world at the time. The French never got the vote to this many people, even after the French Revolution. So the point is, this is our first step toward democracy. Now, another party starts in the North somewhat later around the idea that slavery is bad, abolitionism. And within 2 election cycles, this party that had not existed before, called the Republican Party, wins the presidency. It was a Northern Western party. The Southern parties never even allowed Lincoln's name or the Republican Party on the Southern ballot. Lincoln would win with 39.9% of the vote, but he got him in the right states because the Democratic Party, which had ruled the country, and this is the pro-slavery party, ruled the country right through until 1860, from the time of Jackson, 1828, uninterrupted, I might add. I mean, they had the Whigs in there, but they were useless, basically. They beat him with less than 40% of the vote. And it started the Civil War, of course. All right, now, that party, though, was victorious in that war, and there's nothing that plays like victory. So during this time, right, the Hamiltonian interests of business, right, the North beat the South because they had all the industry. The robber barons made a fortune in that war, and oh, by the way, they then dominated politics from that point on. Robber barons reshaped the electorate. They basically bought and sold their congressmen because they had so much money, they could simply say, you're going to support what I want? Okay, here's some money, run for office. And their lobby efforts were legendary. And we get this, the whole industrial revolution of the United States, supported by a congressional action. The one guy that opposed all that said, yeah, but the small farmers are now getting really hurt by all of this. The average worker is getting hurt. William Jennings Bryan comes along. It's not a name most people know, but Bryan took up the cause. He was a populist. He took up the cause of the average everyday people, ran for president 3 times, almost got the presidency 1, 2, 3 times, lost all 3. But he created a new electorate, a new rural electorate, a new evangelical electorate. He was a quite religious person himself. And so he changed politics. He changed the electorate, opening the door for the progressives, who were educated elites, but kind of took advantage of all this energy. And with Teddy Roosevelt, we're able to do things like give women the right to vote. This is more than Wilson's time, so it'd be basically Roosevelt, Wilson. And this whole changed the country here. Now, this was set up because the robber barons got control again after Roosevelt for 3 straight presidents. But then the Great Depression comes along and Roosevelt comes in, once again changing the country dramatically. Then, through the efforts of Martin Luther King, LBJ, and JFK, we get the great 60s social revolution and things change again. So we're really on a liberal slide here until we get to Reagan. And Reagan would take in the idea of fiscal conservancy, more robber baron type ideas, and work it, and he gets control in 80. And the party of Reagan reshaped the electorate. He got people who'd never voted Republican their entire lives to do it, and he reshaped the electorate. And they ran the country pretty much until Obama. Obama and his group, and it's not just Obama, it's Sanders, it's AOC, it's Pelosi, it's Hillary, it's Harris, it's Claiborne, all these people, we'll talk more about them later. They are transforming the Democratic Party. They're going a different direction. Right up here, you can see the leaders. But Trump did it too. And at the same time, we see a new electorate on the left and the center, we're seeing a new electorate on the center right as well. And the MAGA influence is so huge. Trump got more people to vote for him for president than any other person in American history, 74 million in the last election. Only problem is Biden got 80 million. is the Trump electorate going away? Trump did what Reagan did. He takes the party and makes it in his own image. The Republican Party of today is not the party of Reagan. It's not the party of Romney. It's not the party of Goldwater. It's the party of Trump through and through. And it has a different set of goals and a different set of values. And so here we have, remember the three bubbles I showed you? Where in order to have a society that's going to work, you have to have a strong defense. You have to have a good economy, and you have to have leadership at the top. Where's our leadership going? Some people call this the cold civil war. We'll see how it turns out on Monday. Boy, barely made that.